problem with the medical industry today is there is no customer service. All these hormones were actually derived as a clinical medication for a reason. And they're saying that our testosterone now today is 50% lower than our grandfathers. Do you want to feel 60 when you're 60?
No.
I don't.
Yeah. Hey everyone, Sam Patel, super excited to be on today's podcast. If you are new here, please hit subscribe. Make sure you don't miss out on the amazing conversations we have. I am super excited for today because I've seen our guest Tomo on Instagram, YouTube. He's all over the place. And now I get to actually meet him in person and have a wonderful conversation. Tomo, thank you for having us all gather today. I appreciate it. How you been?
Man, awesome. I love being on podcasts, especially in-person podcasts.
Yes.
Obviously, I do my own podcast, and I'm usually the one stoking the interview and the conversation. I very rarely get to sit on someone else's podcast and be a guest. You know what I mean? Unless it's virtual.
Yeah.
The virtuals don't hit for me.
Right.
So, being in front of you, and obviously I know who you are, the way we met is really hilarious through a potential business deal that I was doing for one of my clinics. And it's just super cool that, we get to work together now. We get to have some conversations, get to really go through some awesome topics.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have the conversation with you, man. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. Hey, listen, there's something that I really love that you talk about a lot on your content, and that is TRT, hormone replacement therapy, more specifically with men we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I know it's a passionate topic for you. It's a topic that is only growing with interest. It's a topic that I think a lot of people have had debates on, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's had a lot of positive, a lot of negative. I want to hash all of that out today with you. I know it's a topic you love.
Yeah.
Let's start with what is it that you love about testosterone therapy, about men's health, that has really made you want to talk about it so much?
So, we can backtrack a little bit to where I even got interested in this.
Sure.
And I've talked about this before. But I was a guy who was into fitness and the gym, 13 years old, I get my first gym membership. I got that membership because a doctor prescribed me to go to the gym. Hilarious. That doesn't sound like anything doctors would do now, but I grew about 7 or 8 inches in 3 months when I went to Europe when I was 12, 13 years old.
Wow.
So right in that age range. And I grew so fast. I have literal stretch marks sideways on my knees and my lower back. That's how fast I grew. And I had so much joint pain and so much ligament pain that I went to the doctor. I'm like, I'm in severe pain. I can barely walk, can't run. And he told me, he says, well, your tendons and ligaments, your joints, everything is so stretched and stressed from the growth.
Right.
You have to strengthen the muscles around them.
Makes sense.
To, get yourself to a better place. I said, okay. So we get a gym membership. 13 years old, my mom buys me a gym membership. I'm riding my bike there every day. Fell in love with bodybuilding and fitness. Start competing at 17, 18 years old, start feeling pretty good. And of course, like every 17, 18-year-old, I was born in 85, so I'm not super young.
Right.
So who was everybody emulating back then? It wasn't C-Bum.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it wasn't these guys like that are today. It was Arnold.
Yep.
I wanted to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was my idol. And I'm like, oh, I know what it takes to be a bodybuilder. What does that take? That old scary word, steroids, right? So I tell my coach, I want to go on steroids and I want to be a professional bodybuilder. He says no, then he tells me to get my blood work done. We're talking like 2003, 4, 5, that range. Nobody was doing this back then.
No.
So this is revolutionary. Great coach telling me to do this. So he tells me to get my blood work done. My natural testosterone level comes back in the 1460 range, nanograms per deciliter. High.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the range usually ends at about 900, 1,000.
Right.
I'm almost 1,500. He's like, you're naturally on steroids, basically. He's like, don't touch anything until you need it. So I said, okay. In my head, I'm like, I'm going to need it someday. So I'm going to learn everything there is to know about hormones, the endocrine system, every anabolic compound, how testosterone works, how it converts to DHT, what's converting to estrogen. I'm learning everything. My testosterone doesn't dip until I'm like in my early 30s, 30, 31, after a decade of midnight shift as a police officer.
Right.
As a cop for 12 years. So my hormone levels finally dip and I finally get on testosterone. But the thing is, I understood what was happening because I did a decade worth of study in hormones and endocrine systems. So as soon as I hit that decline, well, I'm starting to gain body fat, which is weird because I exercise like a crazy person and I diet like a crazy person. I'm starting to gain belly fat. I'm starting to have a minimized sex drive. I'm tired. I'm a little bit agitated. I'm starting to get depressed. All of these are telltale signs, and people
Yeah.
don't realize these are telltale signs of low testosterone.
Absolutely.
And they're also telltale signs of what? The aging process.
Yep.
So for me, I look at hormones and the aging process. Yeah, it's natural. You're going to get older and your hormones are going to decline. And what's going to happen at that same time is you're going to start having age-related regressive disease.
Right.
So how do you fix it? Optimize your hormones.
Yeah.
Simple equation.
Absolutely. And I love that you have a story behind it because I think that it grows appreciation for the topic.
Yeah.
You certainly researched it at an early age and you recognize that it's something that I'm inevitably going to have to do. And I think that's the biggest issue is people don't realize that it's okay. Like this is inevitable. Aging is inevitable. Decreasing your hormones for both men and women is going to happen. Now, the question is, what are we going to do about it? And it seems as though you recognize that early. When you were researching and when you see it now today, how has that evolution been? Because as you mentioned, no one was doing this kind of stuff back then. No one was checking blood work. Now it seems to be more normal. How has that evolution look like for the industry? How have you recognized it? And how have you been a part of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I got in to the industry in 2018, fall of 2018. I worked for a different clinic, did sales and marketing for that clinic. Basically, I was sales marketing coordinator, left law enforcement, slid into that, built that clinic from 700 patients or so to almost 4,000 in 9 months.
Wow.
Became part owner, equity owner. And then I had to leave that business very abruptly because they were doing a lot of illegal shit behind the back doors.
Of course. Yeah.
That
Always
happens.
something. Always something. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you know as well as I do, the hormone industry, even the legal hormone industry, it's very gray. It's very shady. There's a lot of weird nuances. And there's honestly a lot of people doing a lot of illegal shit in the industry.
There is. Yeah.
I've always prided myself on doing things the right way. You know, I want to do things the right way. And also, I'm an ex-cop. I'm too pretty to go to prison, brother.
Right.
Ex-police officer looking like me goes to prison, I'm going to have to be fighting every day.
Right.
It's going to be a problem. So, you know, the industry has obviously started to become more pronounced. It's become more popular. You see clinics, I don't want to say like mine, but you see clinics doing hormone replacement therapy, even aesthetics, which you're very into, right?
Yep.
They're popping up left and right.
Right.
But there's a bunch of people half-assing it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Everyone's cutting corners. They're trying to get counterfeit stuff, bootleg stuff.
Gray market drugs. It's really sad and it's scary.
A lot of them are administering these hormones, these medications without any sort of blood work, which is even more frightening. They're not following up. They're not seeing if their H&H levels are changing. They're not seeing if there's impact long-term with the prostate. It's a scary world. So you're absolutely right. So with your inspiration that you've had since your younger years, and now as you've become a patient basically of this therapy, how has that inspired you with your clinics today? Introducing it into your practice, what is it that makes you different in comparison to all those other clinics that you're mentioning? You
know, we don't use any cookie cutter approach. Every single person. So in this room, there's 4 men in this room, 2 of us on camera right now, 2 behind the cameras right now. If we go into certain clinics, if we all go in and we all have completely different hormone profiles, but we're all considered low testosterone, big air quotes, low testosterone, we're all walking out the same dose.
Yep.
Same dose testosterone. Guess what? We're all getting an anastrozole, regardless of what our estrogen, looks like. We all might get a agonist, clomiphene, N-clomiphene, HCG maybe. Yep. We're all going to get that. So we're all walking out the exact same dose. That's insanity to me.
Yeah, makes no sense.
We're all completely different. I think I don't know if they're still patients. They might be. We had twin brothers come in. Twin brothers. We're talking identical twins. Identical genes. So there's no difference between them. They look perfectly similar. If they put on the same clothes and they shave their beard the same way, you couldn't tell them apart. That's how identical. These guys have different lifestyles slightly. One works an office job. The other one works an office job that's a little more active. And different wives, different eating habits. They live in different houses. One gets out in the sun more, the other doesn't. All these things play a factor. Absolutely. Guess what?
Yep.
They have completely different hormone profiles, completely different needs, completely different medical intervention needed. So what we differ in is the nuances like that. Right. Everybody is treated as an individual, and everybody is treated as a individual patient and then also as a customer. Yes, this is medicine. Yes, we look at patients, and yes, all of our quote unquote customers are patients. Right. But the problem with the medical industry today, and I know this because I'm a patient of the medical industry, is there is no customer service.
None.
There is no
Yep.
measure of service. It's a turn and burn, 5 minutes with the doctor. I don't want to swear. Get the F out. 5 minutes with the doctor. Get the F out of my office. Here's your medications. Bye.
Right.
See you in
It's a
3 to 6
transaction.
months.
That's what it is.
It's a transaction and it's cold.
Yep.
And what we wanted to do is we wanted to warm it up. Like the way my clinic works, we have only upfront fees, and then every medication or every treatment that we offer somebody, it's all basically at will.
Right.
So you can stop at any time. There's no membership. We don't hold anybody to us.
Right.
If you want to use us, great. If we're doing a great job for you, great. If we can do something better, tell us.
Right.
We're always going to pick up the phone. We're always going to answer your email. That's the craziest shit I ever heard. I had a guy tell me, he's like, you know what I love about your clinic so much? I'm like, oh, tell me what? He's like, you guys pick up your phone. I'm like, that's a thing?
Isn't that astonishing?
That's a thing?
Yeah.
What do you mean? The clinics don't pick up their phones?
Right.
I've never heard of such a ridiculous notion in business.
It's sad, really. It is. I've as you know, like I consult all over the world, and we prank call these clinics all the time, and they don't answer, or someone in a call center answers. I'm a call center. How's a call center going to know what's wrong with my health? And it's
or people
absolutely
can't even adequately answer their questions.
Right.
Like, I mean, they may have a script,
sure.
but
Yeah.
It's
scary. Now, there's a lot of stigma in the industry and in the healthcare world about testosterone's for those people that absolutely need it. And they're, like you said, the bodybuilders, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's always been focused on. But we know it's so much more. I mean, now women are getting low dose testosterone.
100%.
With this sort of mindset and cultural shift, how do you see that evolving, and what do you think people should know out there with what testosterone can truly help with? And it's not, hey, I need it because I want to get larger, I want to get more buff.
Yeah. So I want to just say it as HRT in general. Testosterone is the one that has the stigma.
Yeah.
And growth hormones to some extent,
Sure.
some peptides to some extent. Those are the ones with the stigmas.
Right.
Right. But HRT in general, hormone replacement therapy, or BHRT, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. By the way, always suggest bioidentical, not normal HRT. Anything that's made in a lab comparative to the bioidentical is going to cause you havoc.
Right.
Like synthetic progestins, estrogens, things like that, they are the ones that are literally proven to cause cancer.
Right.
And then you have bioidentical estrogen and progesterone and desiccated thyroid and bioidentical testosterone, things like that. Always go bioidentical. Your body can't tell the difference, and half of them are made from plants, believe it or not.
Yep.
So they're vegan. That's a tag word. All your hormones are vegan. Congratulations, right?
That's good marketing.
So, the stigma with testosterone, why is it negative? Why do people feel like it's negative? Oh, it's cheating in sports. Okay. Maybe they were using it for cheating in sports.
Right.
Baseball demonized it in the US. Why isn't it looked at the same way in Europe? Because it's actual medicine.
Right.
All these hormones were actually derived as a clinical medication for a reason. Hypogonadism is a real thing. Your body not producing enough testosterone is a real thing. And guess what happens to a man when their testosterone goes to shit? A cascade of issues. We're talking
terrible.
from mental health all the way down the line. Your heart health will plummet. You can have more prevalence for cancer. You will gain body fat, which will then lead to diabetes. I mean, these are all things cascading from a simple little molecule that your body naturally produces from your testes, from up here too.
Right.
HPTA, hypothalamus pituitary function, cascading down to your testes, triggering your testes to make testosterone. This is a part of the natural body.
Right.
We're also, as humans, this is 2024, we weren't probably designed as an animal to live to 90 years old. We were really dying off at like 40, 50.
Right,
You know what
that
I mean?
was normal.
Which is when the hormone decline is actually
Correct.
supposed to start to be happening.
Right.
Now, hormone decline, as me and you know, when is it happening? How early?
Oh, I mean, we see people in their 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Actually,
crazy.
That's a great point there, is that we're seeing testosterone declining at such an early age.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of those reasons. Let's actually get real with what's going on. Why are we seeing testosterone plummet?
We're going to call ourselves out right now.
Yep. Hey,
Son of a...
Fiji. I mean, hopefully this isn't bacteria filled and manganese.
Yeah, I know. There was just a
filled, but
study
we'll see.
that said like Fiji...
But it tastes good.
Fiji had a bunch of bacteria or something like that. What was it? It had
Had 3 bacteria, had manganese, and it had all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but it was in a different country. So
Different.
we're
Don't
safe.
freak out.
We're safe.
Keep your water, hopefully.
But plastic bottles.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, microplastics in the environment.
Right.
things. There's a cool book. I don't know if you've ever read it. I don't know if I sent it to you. But I think me and you were talking about it one time. It's called Estrogeneration.
Oh yeah, you did mention it.
You have to read it.
Yeah.
It's a must read. He gets off into the weeds and some craziness and starts talking about some sexual dysfunction type things that could start happening with the way that hormones work. But he talks about how the environment is filled with estrogens, progestins. He talks about the water supply in the U.S., how our tap water. Do you drink tap water?
I try not to.
I don't. I try not to either.
Yep.
You know, and you're in Chicago, and in Cleveland it was much cleaner. In Florida, you can't drink tap water. You can taste the sulfur and all the chemicals they add in there. But you know, they're saying the tap water is very, very contaminated. People are like, okay, sure, with what? The filtration systems for your drinking water in tap water cannot filter out small molecules like hormones, progestins, estrogens that are coming from birth control.
Yeah.
Guess how many women in the United States and in the West are on birth control?
A lot.
Massive amount. People are starting to wake up to it because it's really unhealthy for women to do that.
Right.
But, you know, what are they doing? They're taking these oral contraceptives, everything like that. This is in their bloodstream. They urinate it out into the water supply. Whether people realize it or not, the water in your toilet eventually gets back to your drinking water.
It gets refiltered.
It gets refiltered. It eventually goes back. But most of these filters are not filtering this stuff out. So why are young females developing earlier? Well, they're getting inundated with estrogens, progestins, things like that. Makes sense. Why are men having lower and lower testosterone? You know, the water supply is filled with female hormones. Okay, makes sense.
Right.
Now let's add in all of the processed food.
Oh yeah.
All of the
meats.
All of the phytoestrogens in the food.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, we're getting inundated as men from all facets of life. You know, add in the stress, add in the EMFs from your phone. I mean, we can get tinfoil hats, brother, if we want to get crazy with this. But
it can keep going.
This is real stuff that is really affecting the hormone levels. And they're saying that our testosterone now today is 50% lower than our grandfathers.
Oh, 100%.
So what changed?
Right. Nothing's changed other than the way that we live, the way that we eat, the way that we drink.
Technology, water technology, you know, technology in general. What is really affecting us? It's all of it.
Absolutely. You know, that's an amazing point because I think that's what's waking people up. They're realizing these things. I know that you're a big advocate for it too, because people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to believe it. Like, oh, I don't want to believe that water's shit, right? They don't want to go there, but we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it because it's impacting our bodies and our future kids' bodies. I mean, like you mentioned, I used to ref soccer, high school soccer. It was a hobby that I would do to just stay active. And every year that I would see these kids go, and I'm like, you guys are giants. Like they're like, the smallest kid is out, you know, I mean, I'm not very tall. Obviously you're very tall, but nonetheless, these kids are huge. And I'm like, you're a sixth grader. Like, what are you eating? And we're seeing this because we didn't see this before. I mean, the average height has changed.
Oh, for sure.
Like you mentioned, we're seeing the younger girls now that are having changes. They're seeing puberty much earlier. There's a lot of crazy things happening. Yeah. And this is where testosterone starts to now be a pinnacle of, hey, we need to hone in on this check blood work. I feel that it should be almost a part of the routine blood work annual physical now.
100%.
At an early age. We should be checking these things earlier. What are your thoughts on how we should be dealing with this?
The biggest issue that I have with people that are coming in and getting hormone treatment with us or going to any doctor, they're like, well, how do I know what optimal is? I'm like, well, you don't.
Right.
Because we never tested your optimal. I never had a diagnostic test at 16 from my primary care or a checkup at 18, 19, 25, 30. You don't even know. So now you can't even see a progression.
Right.
But you're supposed to go to your doctor at least every year, every couple of years, maybe, right? So, you know, what are we supposed to be testing? Every single hormone level, CBC, CMP, looking at, you know, prostate levels, you know, why are prostate, the prostate thing is a hilarious thing to me because they're like, well, my doctor wants me to get a prostate exam. I'm like, oh, what was your PSA at? What's PSA? He never checked it.
Oh, God.
I'm like, dude, that's a pretty easy one to check. If your PSA is fine, you're more than likely, you don't need the finger up the butt.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, if you need one, if you need a double check, that's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, blood work should be starting at a very young age. We should be discovering if there are potential hormone issues in younger people earlier. We have a guy who works for us. He's a biochem major. He had something up with his pituitary, so his HPTA was messed up. And he had almost no testosterone at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. And nobody would help him. And he ended up coming to us finally at like 19, 20 years old, and now he's working for us.
That's awesome.
And, you know, he understood what the problem was, but no doctor would help him.
Right.
Why?
You know, that's you mentioned all of this blood work we should be doing at an early age, and you just mentioned that no doctor would help him. That brings up a very good point, which is we could test for this all we want.
Oh, yeah.
But the mindset of the healthcare providers out there is, hey, your blood work, testosterone's at 300, you're in normal range. And it's like, dude, I'm 30. 300 at 30 is not normal. We know that it should be on the high upper limit of that, but how is that, you know, how are you seeing that? That we see this range and everyone's like, oh, you're within normal limits, but we all know that that's not how this works.
I'll argue that 300 is not a normal range at any point in man's life because me optimizing a 60-year-old man, let's say 300 is normal for a 60-year-old man. Fine, cool. Do you want to feel 60 when you're 60?
No, right.
I don't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So is there a detriment to me taking testosterone at 60 years old and making it from 300 and putting it, let's say, to my optimal range? Let's say I knew my optimal range was 800.
Sure.
Which is possible.
Yeah.
So let's say my optimal range is 800. Is there any health detriment to putting my levels back at 800?
Right.
Any health decline that can happen? The answer is an overwhelming no.
Correct.
Not only will it be better for you mentally, physically, physiologically, you can even correct some of the age-related regressive disease, such as diabetes, such as...
We can reverse so much. We can be preventative. Those ranges were figured out based off of the normal aging decline.
Correct.
But now we have healthcare and hormones and technology, all this stuff to help us live longer, to help live us healthier, to have us not lose that energy. I mean, you see this in cosmetics. We don't see 60-year-olds looking 60.
No.
There's 60-year-olds looking 40 now. They get facelifts, all that stuff. So why are we not doing the same for hormones? Yeah. Which is what actually keeps us living longer. What actually would probably help us look younger too.
100%. Well, I'm inside out. You know what I mean? I want to work from the inside out. So I want to feel and look as young as I possibly can from a hormone perspective.
I agree.
Before I have to get into cosmetics, things like that, you know, I'm not wrinkle free by any means whatsoever. I scowl a lot. So I do like the wrinkly thing with my forehead. But like, I've never had Botox. Right. And like some people are like, never, not even once. I'm like, no, and I'm almost 40. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, no, but I'll tell you what, I keep my growth hormone levels up. I keep my IGF-1 levels up, which means my collagen production is good. I keep my testosterone levels up. My thyroid function's great. I take my vitamins. I eat super healthy food. I drink clean water. I want to prevent the aging process. Yep. But no matter what, I'm going to get old. Yep. But, you know, like I make the example, like, well, where's your examples of this being so good for anti-aging? Look at Hollywood, everybody. They've been on HRT since the 90s, early 90s, maybe even early 80s. You know, they've been on testosterone, growth hormones, different peptides. These guys are the pioneers.
Oh, yeah. They tapped in really early.
But back then, it was thousands, if not tens of thousands, you know, a month or year to get these treatments. Now it's accessible.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to do. It's easy to get as long as you're going to a reputable place.
Well, as long as you're getting real drugs too, you know, and like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of bad actors in the industry, including in cosmetics, including in aesthetics. A lot of bad actors that will cut corners. They'll screw you up. They'll screw you up. And once you screw up your hormone profile, whether you're a man or a woman, and I'll be honest, men are easily correctable. Like, what worse? Who knew? Men are simple, women are complicated. I know. Baffling. But, you know, like men are simple. You throw testosterone at them for the most part. Like we self-correct everything.
Correct.
For women, yes, it is more nuanced. Yes, testosterone plays a part. So does estradiol. So does progesterone.
A lot more intricate.
Thyroid, things like that. Women are more complicated. That's just how they are hormonally, you know? But I mean, you screw one of those things up, it takes a long time for women to bounce back, and they can have a lot of cascading issues. Men, we kind of just feel like shit for a little bit, and then once you correct testosterone again, oh, we're good. We're good. Testosterone fixed everything.
Right. Exactly. That's the nice thing about it. It's so easily treatable.
Yes.
And so forth. You've obviously seen a lot of different patients and clients come through your doors now. Is there one that really kind of resonates with you, of someone that was having a lot of trouble and you realize, okay, we're going to be able to tackle this one. It's going to involve some hormones and how their life has changed? Is there one, of course, no names, but with just an example of what's a touching story where like, man, I really love what I do. I love this.
There's so many of them. I'll give you a couple. I'll give you two different examples, and the one example is more of a group of people, and the other example is one specific person I'm thinking about that basically told me a story of like, hey, like I got on HRT, and I think he was just testosterone and thyroid. I think his thyroid was under functioning and his testosterone was super low, mid 40s. He went from like wanting to get divorced, never having sex with his wife, like having all these relationship problems, not being able to play with his kids, being in constant pain.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Awful life. To then getting two things corrected that no other normal primary care doctor even cared to even look at, you know? So he's like, first of all, he got mad. When we corrected him, he got pissed. Why has none of the medical industry done this for me? That's the first thing.
Right.
But then he starts telling me, he's like, I can play with my kids. I'm not in pain. My wife, and he, you know, people disclose some funny information. My wife and I had sex 9 times this week. I'm like,
awesome.
Hell
dude.
yeah, bro. Congratulations, you know? But that story is touching to me because I literally changed the trajectory of this guy's life by just fixing one little hormone. Like, what an amazing gift that I'm giving people, you know? And then I have this other large group of people, and these encompass law enforcement, ex-military, current military, you know, what first responders deal with. Right. So first responders and military, what they deal with, high stress levels, very irregular work hours, all these things. It affects the hormones. Happened to me. Yep. You know what I mean? I dealt with it maybe better than some, but some people have a really hard time with it. And I mean, like, we've had people that are literally on the verge of suicide, antipsychotics, antidepressants, all these different things.
Which just further messes up the hormone
Correct,
cycle.
which further destroys the hormone profile.
Yeah.
And we go through all this stuff, and one specific scenario was a guy who was through the VA. He's on antipsychotics, antidepressants. I mean, like, he had a garbage bag full of medications that he's on through the VA. And I have no problem calling out the VA because I had a very candid conversation with the head of Veterans Affairs under Trump the year after Trump left office. I actually had a private meeting with him because I wanted to stoke him, because I was like, hey, if Trump gets back in after Biden's term, he's going to be the guy again. And I'm like, we need to talk because this is a serious problem. Like, you have guys that are literally dying because you guys won't provide testosterone. It's that simple, and it's so cheap. We can do this for an inefficient, you know, insignificant cost to the government. So we get this guy, and he goes from literally suicidal, like he legitimately was admittedly suicidal, to no longer wanting to commit suicide, back in the gym, relationship was in the best place ever, loving life again.
Got his life back.
From a guy who was a combat vet, 2 tours in the Middle East. Like, this guy has been through the shit, and, like, by all intents and purposes, has PTSD. And he's like, you don't understand. He's like, it helped me deal with even my PTSD.
That's incredible.
So why is this simple little thing? Because our brains and our bodies function like machines. Oil in a car. If you have no oil in your car, you have very little oil. How long is that car going to run? It's not. It's going to break.
It's going to burn out.
You know what I mean? So same thing with your body. You're taking out testosterone. That's your main hormone for a man. If you're taking out that main ingredient of what makes you a man, no shit, everything's going to not function properly.
You know, you mentioned that with that first patient, he kind of got mad. He was like, why hasn't anyone done this for me?
Yes.
I'm going to rattle the cage a little bit here with, do you think that the healthcare industry knows how well it can help and it's silenced? Because I went to med school. I've done it all, man. And we talked about testosterone maybe for a week. At most.
I was going to say your endocrine training's a week.
It's not very long. We don't really talk about it. We talk about maybe the cascading effects as you age, but that's about it. Not preventative, not, hey, we should treat this out early. We don't talk about it. It's not even discussed. It's not even a treatment plan. Why? And we sit here on the other side of it, and it's like, are we the divergents? Are we the ones that just woke up and said, why aren't we using this? Why are we not doing this? Is it, you know, I know I'm right out of the cage a little bit here, and I know that this is a great topic, but why not? Like, why is this not being used? We can prevent so much disease, prevent so many medications to be taken away. There's so much that we can do here, but it's not being done. It's
real medicine. It has real health outcomes for people. All right. So the big question, why is it not being done in mainstream medicine? Well, Who runs mainstream medicine?
Pharmaceutical.
Are we allowed to say it? Are we allowed to say Big Pharma?
Yep.
You know, they're not going to sponsor our YouTube channels now. I'm sorry.
We're going to get banned.
Yeah. So, you know, Pfizer's no longer going to be a sponsor of our channels. I don't think they ever were anyway, but they're not going to be now for sure. But yeah, Big Pharma runs big medicine. You know as well as I do, because you're not just a learned man that went through medical school and knows the medical industry, but now being outside of it, who wrote your textbooks?
That's true.
Big Pharma.
Yep.
And I know people are like, well, no, it doesn't say written by Pfizer. I said, no, but it was written by an organization that was funded by Pfizer, where the head of that organization also
it's
worked
all
for
connected.
It's all connected, right? So why does the insurance system work the way it does? Why does the FDA do things that they do? There's a lot of influence and push because the biggest lobbying firm in this country is Big Pharma.
Right.
So they are not only affecting how medicine works, how insurance companies work, how the VA works, right? They're influencing how law works.
Right.
So they're able to push and pull anything they want. So, all right, why do they not like testosterone? Why are they not teaching about hormones? Well, think of how big medicine works. It's a Band-Aid operation. If you have high cholesterol, here's your cholesterol med. High blood pressure, here's your blood pressure med. Oh, you have ED, here's your ED med.
Right.
So everything is a medication. So
Band-Aid.
if I can fix everything with testosterone, what did I just do? It's cost them a shitload of money. They don't like that.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
You can't have patients if they're all healthy, right? It's not good for them.
Which is why insurance companies will never subsidize a clinic like ours or a clinic like it. You know, like any of the concepts that we like and that we are aware of. Big Pharma's not going to like it. The FDA is not going to like it. You know, insurance companies are definitely not going to like it.
Yeah.
People think that insurance companies aren't tied to Big Pharma. We can do a whole podcast on that whole scenario.
Yeah.
And I can show you where the cascading.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know,
when I first got into the game, when I first opened up my first clinic, it was a internal medicine, medical weight loss, and hormone replacement therapy clinic, all insurance.
Awesome.
All insurance. And we, you know, me and the founder, we grew that brand out to 10 locations in 5 years, all insurance. And that's how we served the community. That's how we served ourselves as an income. And then there was some switch because as medical weight loss was growing and as hormone replacement therapy and testosterone were growing, then the insurance was not reimbursing as much. And we're like, what's happening here?
What year was this?
This was, 2017, 2018. Yep. So 2-3 years before COVID.
Yeah.
And it was starting to get more and more difficult where like the reimbursements aren't coming in, the reimbursements are less. And these are people that are actually needing it. Like blood levels are low.
They start fighting you on IDC codes, things like that.
Absolutely. We had to code for hypogonadism. They're like, oh, well, you know, he's within limits. It's like going back to that thing. It's like, yes, but not for his age, right?
And he's symptomatic down the line.
Exactly.
Why are they not looking at this?
Correct. And it's once again because we want to be able to throw pills at that person and gain money in the pharmaceutical. And that's when I woke up and I said, you know what, I'm going cash based.
Yeah.
Just like what we're doing now, we're able to now help these clinics. You're seeing it right now. You're living the journey right now. Yep. These clinics are inspiring for the sole sake that we can give access to this without the politics, without the bureaucracy.
Yep.
And that's what makes it enjoyable. And I think that it seems to be a passion of yours for many reasons, but I do think that it probably has because you want to give people an opportunity.
That's it. Yeah. And I mean, like if you would have asked me 10 years ago, or even if you asked me today, they're like, oh, you know, if someone asked me like, well, what's is your passion running and owning medical clinics? I'm like, not really. It's not owning and running medical clinics. My passion is the topic.
Yep.
This is my driver of the topic.
Right.
You know what I mean? I love the idea of what we do. You know, the business of running medical clinics, dude, it's a pain in the ass.
It's tough.
It's a pain in the ass.
Everyone thinks that it makes a lot of money and it's really easy. And it's like, oh, you know, everyone can get into it because everyone's trying to open up med spas left and right.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, it's a high risk industry. It's not the industry. It's a high risk business to start.
It's high risk. It's high cost.
Yep.
And logistically, like the first thing I've had people consult with me and are like, what's the first thing that I should do if I want to open a clinic like yours? I said, get really good lawyers and be prepared to pay a lot of money in lawyers and accountants because you're going to have a lot of shit you got to deal with.
Yep.
You can ask my staff. Some of my staff are in this room. What are 90% of my meetings? Lawyers and accountants. How much do I love that? Dude.
Yeah. It's so true because there's a lot of access into this industry, but also that's where the regulation's becoming a problem because everyone's trying to cut corners. They're trying to, just do it to turn a profit. People have these, these testosterone TRT clinics. There's these medical weight loss clinics, and you're not even being seen by, I don't even know who it is.
Well, no,
It's scary.
you're actually being seen by a proxy who is a salesman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Basically, that's what it
is.
is.
And then they're selling you medications, and then basically they send that list of medications that they sold you to the doctor, and the doctor blindly
Quick glance, yeah.
Sure, signs it. Quick glances if you're lucky.
Right.
Some of them are blindly click, digital sign, or just paper sign that they don't actually give a shit.
Yep.
But they're in it for the money.
Yep.
And that's the difference. You'll have medical clinics that are in it for the money. Trust me, I could have cut a lot of different things, and I could have went a lot of different ways in my medical clinics, and I would have made 500% more money.
Right.
Why didn't I? Because it would have made the customer suffer. It would have cheapened what we do. I could have sold 4 times. I had 4 offers to sell my companies for 8 figures plus.
That's crazy.
So, we're not talking 8 figures at 10 million. We're talking more than 10 million.
Yeah.
So I could have sold this already. Why didn't I? Because someone's going to bastardize it and cheapen it. And I'm not ready for that. Now, if I can sell this in 5 years and the company and the concept and the idea is too big to then change, that's when I'll sell.
Yeah.
And I'll sell for 100 million. That'd be fun.
Because then your vision's protected.
Correct.
And then you have a legacy.
You can't protect your vision when it's only a couple clinics, And the whole idea of this industry is to protect what the vision is.
Right.
And the vision is access to real healthcare, to an actual choice in medicine. That's what me and you are about. Yep. That's what people like us are about. If you have the ability to choose your destiny in medicine, how does that make you feel? Like anybody watching this, how does that make you feel if you can choose, and it's not just what your doctor says. It's not just what the medical system says. It's not just, hey, you're going to get this because of this symptom. Well, no, I know there's another option.
Right.
This is the other option. This is, again, I consider hormones and the hormone industry as wellness, as anti-aging. Hormone therapy is anti-aging to me. I also think hormone therapy is some of the most holistic medicine possible, because you are giving a bioidentical hormone, you're reintroducing something that has been diminished.
Right.
And the most holistic thing you can do is to replenish
it.
And get off of the big pharma meds that you're going to inevitably be on.
Right.
You're going to get there. Every single man will start to have cholesterol, blood pressure, potential diabetic issues, heart-related issues.
Right.
All those things are going to happen as you age, unless you optimize your hormones. And guess what? It miraculously staves it off.
Yep.
We just solved medicine.
Right.
It's wild.
It is wild. It is amazing. We'll end with this, Tomo. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate this. For people that are looking for a place to go to.
Sure.
How do they evaluate? Because you Google testosterone therapy near me, whatever it is, there's 100 places that pop up.
Sure.
How does someone evaluate, where should I go? Should I go there? Should I go there? Obviously, cost is a big driver now.
Yeah.
But how do we evaluate that from a patient standpoint? What do we do to go to a safe place?
Yeah. So, again, I am not the only clinic out there that's good. There are a ton. And I give props, and I'm friends with a lot of owners. I've even had owners of what would be considered competing clinics on my podcast, and I'm literal friends with them.
I love that.
The industry is we're scratching the surface.
I know. Yeah.
There are so many patients to go around, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of big name clinics that are out there that are kind of the trendier clinic name. They're going down.
Yep.
And you know that.
I've recognized it. Yep.
I'm ex-law enforcement. I'm friends with a lot of FDA guys, a lot of DEA guys, a lot of FBI guys. There's a lot of shady shit that's about to pop off, and you're going to see a lot of arrests happening.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
Because they were trying to mainstream it.
Correct.
They lost their vision.
Yep. And they started cutting corners, and they started going after money instead of actual solving problems.
And that's the thing. They have so much money put into marketing that all the patients just go to them, and that's a deficit to their actual health.
100%.
So how do we identify, like you said, there's a lot of great clinics. What are they looking for?
Go and ask qualifying questions. Do your research, obviously. So, I hate to say hey, go on Google, but go on there, and I want you to research, anybody watches, and I want people to research, what is testosterone therapy? What are the benefits? What does it do? What other ancillary services may help me? Start looking at symptom lists. Go on multiple clinic websites. See if they have a quiz. See if they have a hormone quiz. See what questions they're asking in their hormone quiz. I have that on my website. So there's a hormone quiz on there, and it'll ask you a bunch of qualifying questions. Hey, do you have this? So if one pops off to you, okay, don't just take our word for it.
Right.
Don't just go on my website and take our word for it. Now Google that question. What if I have this problem? And I'll tell you what, Google's not the best one. Sorry, Google. Go on DuckDuckGo. Go on a different type of search engine because, again, Google's very mainstream, very influenced by big pharma, big medicine.
Absolutely.
So DuckDuckGo does not give you the same results. Do a side-by-side comparison. You'll be surprised at what comes up first on something like DuckDuckGo compared to Google.
Right.
But figure out what you're looking for and then come to us. Most of the patients that are coming to Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic, they've already been patients elsewhere and they've learned what they don't want, and they find out, okay, this company's doing kind of more what I want, and we're not for everybody, man.
Right.
There are people that would love some of our competitors that I think don't do a good job. More power to them.
Right.
I want everybody to get treated how they want to get treated. But there's an information superhighway on this phone, on your computer. You're watching this on a phone or computer right now. There's an information superhighway out there where you can come with so much information. And let me tell you, if you have a conversation with somebody at one of these medical offices and you find them doing the, that's a good question. Let me look that up. Let me ask.
Right.
If that's happening, then you know who you're talking to is not a professional.
Yep.
And, like we have something called patient care specialists. You know that from a hospital system, right? Patient care specialists.
Yep.
Very different from what we call a patient care specialist. Our patient care people are educators.
Yep.
They have master's degrees.
I love that.
They are biochemists. They know biology.
They know their shit.
They know their shit. I mean, our one guy is our head patient care specialist. His name's Armin. Guy's a stud. And he knows the actual medications probably better than any of the medical professionals that work for us.
I believe that.
That see the patient. And they'll ask him questions. Hey, what's the mechanism of action for this drug? How does this work? Armin knows it all. That's his thing.
Right.
But that's who you're talking to when you call a clinic like ours. I hope other clinics can take this information and be like, damn, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
because education is an extremely important thing and it makes a patient feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So ask hard questions to these clinics. Don't just trust them. And that's hard for people because we have been taught, we have learned over the decades, trust your doctor.
Yep.
Trust what they say.
Right.
Don't ask questions. They know, they're the professionals.
But they're also puppeted by guess who?
And it's
everyone else.
Called the practice. It's called the practice of medicine.
Yep.
They're practicing. I hate to say it like that.
I love that.
They're practicing.
Yeah.
They don't have every single answer.
Right.
Half the time when you go to a doctor and you tell them a list of symptoms, and I know this because when I was a police officer, I worked in an ER overnights doing security, and I would see them get this list of symptoms, and then I'd be sitting there talking to the doctor because I was friends with all of them, and they would, in a computer system, this is fucking real, put in the symptoms and put in what they have. And the computer would tell them what to prescribe.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is wild.
It's all automated.
The software told you what to do. You didn't actually doctor shit.
Right.
That's, like, I hate to be just that negative
you're
about
absolutely
it, but
right,
it's a funny way of looking at it. So it's like, I understand we want to have trust in our professionals and trust in the system. I'm telling people that are watching me, don't even trust me. Don't even trust my clinic. Vet us.
Yeah.
Vet us and ask us the questions because we will have the answers. And if we don't, we'll tell you.
Right.
If you got us on something, hey, sorry, we didn't have the answer on that.
Yeah.
We'll find it out.
Absolutely.
But
so
that's
important.
what it is. We have so much information at our hands. Just you can be so educated walking into a medical clinic that you should feel so comfortable in the information that you already discovered. Get out of the mindset of they know everything. I'm just going to let them do their thing. They don't. The pandemic proved that. The pandemic proved the medical industry
doesn't know anything.
Doesn't know a lot.
Yeah.
So
I agree. What are the plans for your company? Where are you going? I know you have some locations popping up. What's that look like?
Yeah. So we're in Pittsburgh and Orlando. We're in Orlando right now. My office is literally right down the street. We have a Pittsburgh location. Half of it does what we are specialized in, which is, holistic medicine through hormone health.
Yep.
The other side is a full aesthetics practice. I'm going to have you come. I'm going to have you visit. I want to have you look at it and assess it
for sure.
Because you're the guy. I mean, you're the guy. That's how
I
we
know
met.
a thing or two.
You know what I mean? So we have that practice. We're opening up in we say Dallas Metroplex, but it's actually Plano.
Yep.
So
booming area.
We're gonna say Dallas.
Yeah,
it's easier. So we're gonna say Dallas, Texas. That one's already underway. It's being built out currently.
Nice.
Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I grew up, in Westlake. So everybody's like, oh, Cleveland. It's Westlake. It's nicer. It's a nice mall over there. We have negotiations. I already have a verbal actually for Austin, Texas.
Nice.
Another guy in, I know we're going to get some groans on this one, Southern California. Tax system and the legal system is a little bit wonky there.
It is.
But those are our next slotted clinics. And I mean, I want to get us to 20 clinics by probably Q2 of 2026.
Okay.
If I get to 20 clinics, I mean, we can go into business numbers and stuff like that. Yeah. We're a healthy business.
Absolutely.
We do very well. Our clinics make a lot of money. I reinvest most of it into growth.
Yeah. Because you do things the right way. Right. I mean,
that's what it is. We're just treating people right.
Yep.
It's such a wild thing. How does your business become successful? I'm like, I don't know, treating people well. Weird.
We do our job.
We do our job. We treat people nice. It's a weird concept.
Yeah.
But that's our next scaling. Awesome. And I mean, like anybody that wants to come in and, we offer like not a franchise, we offer like a minority partnership where someone can buy into 40% of one of our clinics.
Yeah.
And they basically fund us to open it.
Yeah.
And we're giving them 40% of it.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
I'm not a greedy person. Like I want everybody to make money.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me happy if I have all nice things and, any of my partners or my staff are suffering.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I want people to thrive with us.
Right.
So we're building a bunch of these on our own. We have a potential large corporate investor well into the high 7 figures.
Nice.
That wants to come in and just help scale us. But yeah, man, I mean, sky's the limit.
This
industry is so fun.
You're taking me back a few years. I'm excited for you because I know how that feels.
Well, I mean, listen, exciting. I'm going to, knowing that, now that we're friends, when we sit down, I mean, we're going to break bread tonight, I believe, too. Are you going to be at dinner?
I am. We're going to be
Perfect. So we're going to break bread tonight. We're friends now. So now I'm gonna be calling you off the hook.
I look forward to it.
Hey, dude, what do I do with this? What do you do here? You know what I mean? That's how we grow together.
That's what's great about this industry, finding like-minded people, and magic happens.
That's it. Yeah. But I'm not above anybody. I'm not above like thinking that I know anything more than anybody else. Yep. Dude, I still baffle myself how I even did this, but you figure it out. You figure it out.
That's so funny. That's my tagline. You can ask my business partners and my team whenever someone says, "Hey, Sam, how are we going to figure this out? Or how are we going to do this?" I'm like, "We'll figure it out." I mean, that's the grind of every human, but that's the grind of an entrepreneur. We're problem solvers.
That's it.
There's puzzles, we solve them.
Yeah, that's what problem solvers and pivot masters.
I love
we are constantly needing to pivot. We're constantly needing to solve problems. That's how we operate. Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, I really hope that people get some really good information on the hormone field. I hope this maybe gets somebody away from the
This was beautiful. I think this was great. Tomo, I appreciate everything you've discussed today, being super open with our audience. For those of you that have never seen Tomo or haven't followed him, his information is going to be down in the comment in the information below. Make sure you follow him. He's got a lot of cool shit that he talks about. And of course, we're going to follow your journey, Tomo. Hey, I appreciate you today. Thank you for being on this. If you haven't hit subscribe, please hit that subscribe button right now so you can follow our journey and Tomo's journey so we can help the industry be better and having good conversations like this. Once again, Tomo, a pleasure as always. We'll see you guys real soon.